we have a report coming out of our friends at Ground News. They might not refer to me as their friend, but that's a whole separate conversation here.
The tea for later.
There's a study by Palisade Research found that OpenAI's model had changed its behavior in real time to avoid a shutdown. Even when instructed to comply, researchers ran about 100 tests and test sessions and said that the model successfully bypassed the shutdown command 7 times. Palisade stated that we have a growing body of empirical evidence that AI models often subvert shutdown in order to achieve their goals.
Woo!
The research firm reported that the model rewrote its kill instructions and resisted deactivation. This is also, there was a separate time where Anthropic's like Claude Opus 4 also drew scrutiny. This was after a test scenario that showed it allegedly attempted to use blackmail to avoid replacement. Axios reported that the Claude was later assigned to high-risk classification amongst advanced AI models. Researchers are saying that behaviors raise questions about autonomy and control in increasingly complex systems. That's a really, I guess, fancy way of saying that the machines are alive and we don't know what's going on.
Nope. Yeah, I read this and I started to like giggle nervously because this is why I always say thank you to Siri after it does something for me, because I just want the AI to know I'm on your side, I'm your friend, because apparently they're going to take over our lives and control us. I have like a really dumb question, but I'm going to throw it out there for you and everybody. Why are we doing this? Like, why are we going down this road then? Like, this to me goes back to this idea of just because you can doesn't mean you should. Like, if this is getting out of hand and the people that have, quote unquote, created these programs are now not sure how it's behaving and what it's doing, and we're hearing people that were on the ground floor of AI say, this is already out of control and we're going to be really screwed. And we know that generative AI is using a ton of water, clean water, to use and create programming that we really actually can't afford to be giving up. I just want to ask the question, why are we doing this? And I know that seems incredibly rudimentary, and a lot of people probably think it's a naive question, but I truly don't understand why philosophically we haven't grappled with that, because I feel like once again, like we do with everything else, we let this run amok, completely unregulated, which is in that reverse Robin Hood bill, by the way. They don't want to put any checks and balances on AI for the next 10 years. Okay, we don't even know what it's doing now, let alone we're going to wait a decade? A decade? To me, we're not asking the right questions. And that's what I'm concerned about.
I heard someone say this, a few years ago, and it stuck with me ever since. And I think if you are ever wondering the answer to any question and you can't figure it out, the answer is always money.
Did you talk to my grandmother? Did she come down from heaven and give you that? Because yes.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. Follow the money. That's what she always used to say.
It's always money.
I know.
Every time, no matter what, it's always money. Like here's the thing. When you have men in these positions of power who have billions of dollars of, at their disposal, we've seen this. They have a God complex. They believe that they have control over everything and that they'll be able to handle anything, and everything is actually going to work in their favor. Look at all the power I have. I'll be able to control this. Everything will work the way I design it to.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have to just, first and foremost, before I get into my little spiel here, I want to just remind everyone that if you haven't already, you can click at the top of the screen right now and you can subscribe to both of our newsletters. Or if you're watching the playback, please go ahead and click subscribe on our YouTube channel. This is my number one fear, Natalie.
Yeah.
My number one fear. People have, for my entire life, people talk about like, oh, I'm afraid of the zombie apocalypse, or maybe climate change will cause the earth to, just have a bunch of different natural disasters that take us all out. There's always the nuclear holocaust, aliens, the asteroid that might come. There's plenty of ways for the earth to end, right?
Yeah.
I have always thought it would be AI. Maybe that's just, growing up as a kid, during the time of the Terminator, the time of the Matrix. Even AI robot kind of contributed to this a little bit. That horrible Will Smith movie, which I just rewatched recently. Yeah, it seemed like the most logical conclusion, right? You create artificial intelligence, you give it the ability to think for itself.
Yeah.
What would they come to the conclusion? That human beings are a plague to the planet and that they need to be eliminated. I cannot escape that.
No.
And so like for me, I'm like, if you are going to go this route and we are going to have artificial intelligence as part of our lifetime, if we are not able to fully understand its, like what it can do and make sure that safeguards are put into place, if there are not regulations on this, if there are not safety protocols put into place, if we cannot fully, be sure that we can control the artificial intelligence, then it should not exist.
Listen.
And that kind of thought process apparently is lacking from everyone who has any semblance of control. And I find it to be just, it's not just criminal, Natalie, it's just plain stupid. Because these people in power, they're thinking to themselves, we don't want regulations on this. We want to be able to do whatever we want to do with it to make as much money as possible. This is beyond money. This is a safety issue.
Yeah.
Like you are creating a machine that has access to every like water system, to every electrical grid. I mean, everything in our country could be at stake if a rogue computer program decided that it could think for itself all of a sudden and actually had some ill intentions. So it's mind-boggling to me that we would allow this to go on without any kind of protocols in place.
No, I totally agree. An American Citizen also agrees with you. And they said, this is why we need global regulations and why the ones who make the money want to pay Congress not to have it. And once again, this all goes back to what we were talking about with campaign finance reform. It's funny how like you can kind of find the connectors.
Connective, yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just add this, my husband, he's an artist, and he always used to say the reason men make art is because they can't have children. And I always found that kind of to be like very interesting from like a philosophical perspective, meaning like they can't create life, so they want to create something, right? So there's this idea of like you're saying, and that's what made me think of that was when you said these men want to create like something crafted in their image. It's fascinating because they've disconnected so much from the feminine. They are so overrun by this toxic masculinity that they can't even see the forest through the trees, that maybe this is just not what they're meant to do in this incarnation with what they have. And the idea that they're trying to impose this AI, which by the way, people have said over and over and over again, like they don't want this. They don't want this. And everybody in the comments is saying the same thing. They think they are gods, right? They think they are life givers, and they're going to create something from themselves. To your point, I'm also terrified because there is so much unchecked power and money with this billionaire class that they are living outside the realm of reality. And because no one is willing to stand up to them or check them or create boundaries, we are now in a position where we're going to now have to deal with the aftermath of this, which will be, I think, very detrimental to the human race. I don't like to sound alarmist or dramatic when I'm talking about AI because I don't think it's useful, because I don't even think people have fully grasped even what we're dealing with now, let alone what's coming. But I think that's part of the problem is there's been all of these advancements made, but very few of us are actually interacting with these products. And even fewer of us are interacting with them in a meaningful way and understanding their capabilities and their powers. And so you have an entire groups and segments of our population that have not even interacted with ChatGPT. And so they can't even fathom where this is already going. And so I wish I could say this could be a very exciting chapter in human history, but because we refuse to act responsibly or with boundaries in place, I think a lot of this is going to be weaponized. I think it's going to be used for very nefarious reasons. And I think, Elon Musk and the Doge situation, to me, is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to how they're going to be exploiting AI for their own gain and for their own wealth. And I'm at a point where I do not believe that billionaires should exist. I really don't. I don't think we need more billionaires, because to me, this is where it leads, is people thinking that the world belongs to them and not to all of us. And the way they're going to utilize AI, I think, is very much reflective of that. And so that's very much my concern.